Hey class, in this video we're going to look at our new game engine and our new project that we're going to be working on for the next few weeks. And we'll also talk about character design, which is the first thing that we're going to work on. So big reveal, the TBD game engine is going to be Micro Studio. I'm going to get into that in the second video for this week. But I'll replace all of these TBDs with Micro Studio. I had to do some testing and make sure that everything that I wanted to do with the engine would work and be, hopefully reasonable for you guys to use. But I really like the project, and I think it's a good sort of in between from what we did with Bitsy in our previous project and what we're going to do with Godot in our final project. We're going to work on this for an extra week, so we have a little bit longer to work on this. So we're going to start this week in week 7. We're going to continue working and talk about some level design stuff next week, do some more level design stuff the following week, and then we'll finish the game and do our play testing in April, the week after spring break. So we have an extra week to work on this, so hopefully that will be fun, and then we'll use the rest of the end of the semester to work with Godot. In this video, I'm mostly going to talk about character design, and then in the second video for this week, we're going to get started using the game engine, and we'll create a 2D character. So let's get into character design. And so yeah, I'm just going to talk about a few concepts when it comes to character design and sort of get us ready to build a character in our demo for this week. So here we see Pac-Man, and these are all the sprites for Pac-Man. And I think this is a really good example of a few basic principles of character design. So we can see that the main character for the game, Pac-Man, is the brightest color in the color palette. It's this bright yellow. And it's also very simple. It really is just a circle with a slice cut out. And this tells us a couple important things that we need to know. One is, what direction are we moving in? So it's a really simple representation of the directionality of the character. So that helps us understand what we're doing in the game world. And the other thing is, it tells us about what Pac-Man does, which is just eat dots. And so a good character design is going to communicate those things very, very simply. With our ghosts, they have a slightly more complex design. They have different colors, so we can recognize the colors. And of course, the ghosts, if you're familiar with Pac-Man, have slightly different behaviors. So you can use the color to determine which ghost you're looking at. And so it's very, very simple. Very little data used to communicate everything that we need to know to play the game. So a couple things that the character design does: it gives the player an avatar to identify with in the game world, so we can see our player, we can move our player, we have this direct connection with the player or the character. And then it indicates the functionality of the character. So here we see Mario from Super Mario. We can see this game has a little bit more detail, and Mario has some unique characteristics. So, you might not be wearing overalls, you might not have a mustache, you might not identify with that aspect of this representation of Mario, but it's still very easy to identify Mario in the game world overall. So with a little bit more data, we can make a more unique character. And again, we see that the Mario character stands out from the world. He has a red outfit. Nothing else in the world is red, so that makes it easy to find our avatar in the game. Another simple example of a very simple character design: the spaceship from Space Invaders. This kind of shows us the direction that we're pointing in. It's a bright green color. Very, very basic. And so we can kind of see that in early video game systems with very limited color palettes and limited data and graphics processing power, the designs had to be creative in order to work with the limitations of the platforms. And I think that has had a good effect on future designs. Now we have much faster processors. We have lots of storage. We can do much more sophisticated things. But good character design still involves very specific, simple choices and elements. Here's another example from the game Cannibalt. And there's a lot more detail in this game, but one of the things you'll notice is even in this really big scene with lots going on, it's pretty easy to identify where your player character is. It's this guy with this like black suit. He has the shape of a person, and nothing else in the scene, even though there's lots of other detail, has the same color palette with the most dark black and then the bright white. There are other white things, there are other dark things, but our character still has this very easily identifiable color palette. Another similar example, this is the game Limbo from 2011, and there's a lot of detail in this game. There's a lot of, we can see the detail in the grass, we can see the sort of shadowy details in the background, but our character is this very simple silhouette with these two really bright eyes. So it's very easy to identify the character and sort of see the character in the game. Another good example, this is the character from The Binding of Isaac. This is a good example of simple design, so it's very easy to see the character and identify with the character. It's very simplified, face. It is a baby, so that that helps. But we also see the functionality of the character. In Binding of Isaac, the character uses its tears as a weapon, and so that tells us about the functionality. This is a panel from Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud, which maybe you've run into in other classes. It's a really great book just about visual communication, visual design in general. There's a lot of stuff in there that applies to video game design as well as to comics. But here he shows the cartoon or the icon. And so he shows this sort of gradient between a representational image, like a photograph of a man, and then all the way on the other side, we have the most basic iconic version of that image, just a circle with two dots and a line for the mouth. And then we see a few steps in between that. So we see sort of a more realistic comic book style. We see a sort of in the middle, like a more cartoony style comic book, then a very cartoony style comic book with very simple characteristics, and then finally this like totally iconic version that could represent any person with any hair color or basic attributes. So on this right side, when we have simpler characters, it's easier for the player to identify with that character because there's no unique features that a person might say, well, that's not me, so I don't identify with that. On the other side, we have representational. So sometimes characters like Mario that have unique characteristics, that's another thing that we can identify in the scene. And that might not, identify with us, but we may still be able to say, oh, that's Mario, that's my character. So there's a couple different ways to kind of approach it. A really good breakdown of a character design process is by this comic book artist, Tama Totoro. I really like this because it has a system. You don't have to have the same system, but having some system is really useful. So the system starts with basic shapes, and he gives meaning to the different shapes. Again, this is relative. There's no absolute meaning to any shapes, but he gives in his system meanings to these different shapes, and that sort of informs the process for which shapes he uses for which characters. So for round, for the characteristics for the round shape or circles or charismatic, harmless, endearing, that kind of makes sense. If you have round, if you don't have hard edges, you might be kind of harmless. Box is reliable, uniform, traditional. That also kind of makes sense. Again, it's relative, but you can see why he chose those. And then triangle is cunning, dynamic, and competent. And so you can see how these shapes are applied to different characters based on their characteristics. And for more complex characters, he can combine shapes. So that's the first part of his process. Again, this isn't the only way to do it, but this is a good sort of example of a system to use to create your characters. Then he goes to silhouette. So he takes the blocks and he fills them in and he gets a character. And then he adds color. Again, he uses a rule here. Again, not the only rule that exists. You can create your own rule, but by making a rule and then applying it to the characters, he can create consistency. So the rule he uses for color is 60-30-10. 60% of a primary color, 30% of a secondary color, and 10% of a third color that's sort of a highlight. And so we can see there's this consistency across the characters where they have one main color associated with the character. We have this white color, we have this darker color, then we have the red color. But then each character has a bit, a highlight, or a little bit of each color in the color palette. So then there's a link here to some inspiration where he shows a lot of the different artists he likes. Where is that? Maybe that's the wrong link. Um, I guess this is the okay. Anyway, um, so yeah, again, that's just an example of a system. You don't have to use the same rules, but having that kind of system helps you sort of use the same design process for each of your characters. So we're gonna work on creating a character this week. So we're gonna get started with a new game engine this week, and we don't want to get overwhelmed. So we're just gonna focus on creating a player and putting it into the game engine and getting it working. So that's what we'll do in the next video. We'll introduce our new game engine, Micro Studio, and then we'll create a player for our new 2D game. So that's it for this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.